All right, well, today is December the 18th. Muzzleloader season's over, rifle season's over, shotgun season's over, but we are currently on our way to check out what could quite possibly be a new Minnesota state record non-typical. That was shot by Mr. Stan Kreidermacher of Alba, Minnesota, just about a week ago. Hello there,
Hi.
it must be Stan.
Come on in.
The man of the year. Nice to meet you, Drew Donahue, over the shoulder.
Hey,
This
Stan.
is Curtis from over the shoulder.
Glad to meet you.
How you doing, guys? There it is, huh?
There it is, sir. Oh, thank you.
We come bearing gifts.
That's the biggest compensation I've had so far.
Wow. Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's pretty incredible.
Yeah, my nephews were holding out a whole bunch of them.
Yeah, were they? I'll bet they were. This is an amazing deer. In 41 years, have you ever seen a buck like that running in the woods?
No.
No. That's pretty. It's a pretty impressive deer. So, how about other success? I mean, is this a pretty common occurrence? Do you guys get non-typicals like this often out in the Altura area, or is this just kind of a fluke? I guess a once in a lifetime, once in an area buck. Anybody?
Pretty much just a fluke.
Yeah.
You know, got some nice deer and on the land we hunt, the neighbors' lands, and but nothing like this.
Pretty incredible genetics.
Yeah. We're fortunate to have a lot of private land in our party. A couple of the guys that we hunt with own a bunch of land and been managed for quality deer, and we've had a lot of success on that land and some of the state land around in the area too. We've had some success on. So.
I believe you have the one side has to have at least 4 points on it.
Yep.
Yes.
And that's been going on for a number of years now, I think.
Well,
Yeah, in this area, yeah.
Maybe a little bit of payoff showing through. I mean, I'm sure that this deer had a smaller rack at some point in time. But anybody else in the group have success this year hunting, or was everybody kind of overshadowed by the muzzleloader this year? Or?
I shot like a 136-inch 10-pointer.
136, that's a pretty nice buck. It's definitely nothing to shake your head at. So, anybody else in the group? Does, bucks? Everybody pretty quiet.
Our party had a lot of success.
Our party had a pretty decent
Guys who
year.
aren't here right now.
Yeah.
Nice. Shot about 7 deer that were in the 130 to 140 range.
Cool.
This is actually the first shootable buck I've seen.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Well,
Hunting the first season and muzzleloader, the first buck I've seen that I would have shot.
yeah, that's pretty incredible that he was the first one to walk through. That's things coming together well for you, I would say, in that day and time. So.
Over the years, about every 5, 6, 7 years, I've had luck.
Yeah.
Don't get much in between there.
Well, that's all right as long as one of these walks.
Yeah. This one kind of makes up for them.
Yeah, I would guess so. It's a pretty impressive deer, and this is a pretty great opportunity. Thank you all for letting us come and take a peek at this, because this is impressive. We're talking possible state record.
He will. We've had him green scored. I haven't let out the actual score he had, but he will end up between 235 and 240, which will kind of blow the record away.
What's the current record?
226 and
5/8.
5/8, I think it is.
Unless something drastic
It
happens in
to
the
the
next
next
4 days.
Yeah, right.
That drying
will be
period
the state muzzleloader.
Well,
non-typical
record, yeah.
Like I told you, I make him wear his seatbelt.
Yeah, I would too. And I guess I wanted to talk a little bit more about, I know you guys mentioned a little earlier that, Stan, you didn't even know about this buck until maybe a month or so ago.
No.
I think you got some cousins and relatives.
I got some
holding out
relatives
on you.
that holding out on me.
Well, how did that start, boys? I mean,
Landon and myself first saw the deer last year, January 1st, 2014. We were pheasant hunting, and we went pheasant hunting on some land that Landon had seen some birds on. Kicked up a couple birds there, and then after that we decided to go on some other land that a friend of ours told us he had seen some pheasants on, and Landon and I had never pheasant hunted there before, so we went up there and figured we'd try a new area. And actually right towards the end of the day we getting towards the end, and we were walking back towards the vehicle through one, saw some pheasant tracks going into a small patch of woods right along the road. Landon and my dog went through that. I went up to a field road and stood, and they did kick up the pheasant. It was a hen pheasant, so it didn't shoot. And then we were standing on the field road talking a little bit, and after that we could have either walked to the road and walked back to the truck, or walked through one last patch of woods. We were only about 200 yards from the vehicle, and we said, oh, we might as well finish it out just in case. And no more than stepped in the woods, and all I heard was Landon say, "Brian, huge buck." And I looked up and caught a glimpse of what ended up to be this buck. Landon can take the story from there.
Yeah, like he said though, I mean, it basically got up and ran straight away. I knew it was massive, and for all I knew, it could have been a 150-inch 8-pointer. I just knew it was big. And so we went back up there, me and my brother Leighton, looking for sheds. I think it was a couple times, maybe in late February, and no luck. But last year we had a lot of snow, and so we just waited till one day where it melted. It rained like 2 inches that night, and it seemed like the snow melt went down like 3-4 inches. And so we went up there, let's give it a shot, and there was footprints all over the place from people, but nothing looked really recent and fresh. And went walking on a bean field, and actually Leighton walked by the trail first.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I just by chance looked back and glancing at a trail that was paralleling away from me. And I was like, is that an antler? And it's like, it looks like a tree branch or something. It's all too thick for tines, sticking up. And I walked over there and grabbed it out of the snow, and I knew it was nice, but I didn't know when I picked it up, and I was like, holy crap. This was the half there, so.
That's the one that you pulled out of the snowbank?
Yeah.
When Landon found his half, we were actually walking in someone else's tracks, and then when I found my half, he was walking in someone else's tracks about 30 yards away, and I was walking through just this little strip of woods that was left in this 200-yard circle, the only thing we hadn't checked yet, I was walking through there, and I was turning to look to Landon and say, there's actually a lot of beds in here. And I only got out theirs because then that's when I seen the deer, or the horn. And I tried to pick it out of the snow, and the snow was so hard and packed in, it wouldn't budge at all. So we had to punch at it to get it out. And I started punching a little bit, and he's like, wait, let me take a picture. And so then we took a picture of it while it was still buried in the snow. And we didn't know what this deer was going to be, so it was kind of cool just digging at it, and more and more points just kept showing up. And
there it was, the full set.
Yeah.
But so you guys had an idea that the buck was around about 11 months ago, right? Almost 11 months to the day, actually, that Stan had his encounter, and you didn't bother telling him soul really about that, which probably is the best thing to do in that situation. You don't want everybody out there traipsing around looking for him, but so you waited until when to tell your uncle about that?
I'll say, was it during the buck season?
During the buck season, when the first time we went to drive for him, I had heard bits and pieces, but never questioned them about it, and they talked very little even at that point about this buck.
And I was going to say too that both halves that we did find were probably within 200 yards of where me and Brian jumped them pheasant hunting. So
really?
It's really close to where we seen them.
So if I'm not mistaken, you guys had a nickname for this buck, didn't you?
Yeah, we called it Mean Gene after the guy who told these two to go pheasant hunting up there. His name's Gene.
Okay.
And he's a very lighthearted guy, and so it's kind of like calling a big guy tiny by calling it Mean Gene.
Sure.
And then it also kind of dual served as mean genetics as well.
Well, that's fitting. I mean, those are some pretty incredible genetics on that.
Yeah.
Deer.
And the locals knew it as by Bus Buck.
Okay. Also a very fitting nickname. Also very fitting. Did anybody in the hunting party, had anybody seen him at all?
Well, I should say, opening morning, Leighton and I went up there. Well, Landon did too.
Yeah.
Opening morning for bull season, went up there to chase after him, and we filmed and didn't see anything that morning. And Leighton went out the next couple days after, and he had some luck, but never this one.
Yeah.
See, I didn't know you'd been up there hunting either.
More secrets.
He was just filming the first day. Was all he was.
Yep.
And that morning, Landon, Layton's dad, and myself, we went for breakfast, and we just decided, you know, we weren't out bow hunting, but we knew these guys were there. And him and I just went for breakfast down in Elba and wanted to just drive around and see how many people were out that day. And there was a decent number of cars. I think it was like 10 or something up in the parking lot, less than we thought, but we knew they weren't the only ones up there when we did go up and check. We just wanted to see how many people were hunting in the area and how many people probably knew about the deer.
Yeah. But nobody saw him in the woods at all the whole season.
No, we kind of maybe assumed with all the pressure right away that he might have got pushed out of there right away. But then the second weekend of bow season, at 3:30 in the afternoon, he was on Layton's trail camera, which is like 50 yards over my tree stand, up eating acorns at that time of the day.
And I'd just like to take this time to thank you, John Butenhoff, for making me work that day.
Well, you're gonna have to talk to him about that maybe next year. Get an extra day off or something. But that's pretty incredible that he was there in broad daylight too. 3:30 in the afternoon, like you said. That's
For about 3 months straight there, he was kind of showing up to the same spot about twice a week.
sure. So you kind of had an idea of when to go in there. And
Yeah, I think he was kind of spending some time with his summer patterns and winter patterns are kind of the same, but you know, as the hunting seasons came with pressure and a rut, we weren't real sure where he was, but he was, you know, somewhere around there, we assume.
Sure.
So.
Sure. And this, we're right next door to Whitewater State Park, which is a state hunting area. So there's a lot of people in the woods, and deer do get pushed around quite a bit. So as you said, I'm sure his patterns changed a little bit. But how far from where they had the trail camera pictures did you end up shooting him, Stan?
They never told me where they were.
These guys could tell you better on that.
500 yards, you think? More than that?
It may be a quarter mile at the most.
Okay.
Okay, so same general area.
Yeah, right.
That's nothing for a buck like that to cross,
No.
especially during the deer season. So, were you guys driving then when you did see the buck? Were you on making a push for him?
Yep. It was actually the third push of the day. The first two drives, we only seen one fawn, I think. And so we were kind of starting to get discouraged, I think.
And there were other people in the woods too.
Yeah.
When we were driving, so.
Yeah, sure.
Sheldon and I had a conversation leaving the vehicles on the first drive. I told Sheldon, I said, we're wasting our time. I said, I'll bet money $20 we never see this buck today. Sheldon says, I'll make it 50.
So he owes me 20.
I guess we should settle this bet when we're all done here tonight. Now that you've admitted to it, I don't think you're going to go back. So I think you owe somebody some money. That's pretty cool. That's something that's great about hunting and, seeing everybody here together. I think one of my favorite parts is the camaraderie and the family aspect of hunting, even if you're not necessarily blood related. Just that growing up in the outdoors, we've all been pretty blessed. I know personally it's taught me a lot, and I've learned a lot from the people that I hunt with. And it's so nice to see, just part of the group that you all hunt with, and able to share that experience with everybody. It's such an amazing deer. Congratulations again. That's just pretty cool that you're able to share it with people that you've been hunting with for years, and you're not on an outfitted hunt where you knew the guide for 2 days and went out and shot a buck that day. And, that's pretty cool.
This, and I've said it to every article or writer I've talked to, this was a team effort. I just got to take the winning shot.
Yeah. And I don't think anybody will fault you for taking that shot. Not even the guys that were holding out on you.
Yeah, we're all happy that our party got it. We were just elated that anybody in our group got it.
Mm-hmm.
And if Stan wouldn't have shot at it, the deer would have been out of the drive. Stan and I and Landon were all sitters, and if it wouldn't have got shot there, it would have got out of the drive. So
It's pretty cool because this will be a story for generations of hunters with the group. You guys have been hunting together. Stan, you said you've been hunting with some of the guys for 41 years.
Yeah.
So 41 years from now, then I'm sure they'll still be telling the same story about that one day with the muzzleloader. That's pretty pretty cool. You only get one shot with the muzzleloader.
That's
too.
exactly right.
So how did that shot go down? I mean, it's not like you're shooting with a slug gun and you might have a couple extra shots if you miss the first one.
Well, maybe we should lead up to what happened on top first.
Yeah, tell me all about
You
this.
guys know what happened on top.
Yeah, the one guy found out the hard way that you only get one shot.
Yeah?
Hill, but
You'll have to explain a little bit. I mean, I want to hear the story because it's such an amazing deer. And I think that in order to really appreciate it, you got to hear the whole backstory. So let's have it.
We basically had the sitters sitting off a big
We had
corner.
a group of 13 people in the
Okay.
woods.
And had the sitters sitting off basically a big corner where the woods changed direction on a side hill. And we had one guy like 100 yards ahead of that in a little finger with a dried up pond ravine that was going up over the top before that. And the buck was actually trying to get out of our drive right there with 3 does in front of it. And he was watching the 3 does, and all of a sudden he thought he caught a glimpse of something behind him, and he turned and looked back, and he said they both made eye contact at the same time, and he wheeled around and took off running, and he brought his gun up and took a shot at it and basically grazed its back. And yeah, an inch lower, and he probably would have spined it right there.
Really?
Wow. It was Stan's time.
But if he didn't shoot him, we would have got out of the drive.
Yeah, if he wouldn't have shot at him, he probably would have got out of the drive.
But it turned right back into it.
Yeah.
and then it continued on to the guy in the middle of the
Then
hill.
he turned and ran around the side of the hill to, I was in kind of the middle of the hill, Landon was up on the top of the hill, and we had one other guy sitting in between us, and a group of deer came around to him, and most of us were, we were skeptical that we were going to see this deer, and it was the second from the last day, so most of us were going to shoot does that day, and this guy, the deer came around the hill. He was sitting in between Landon and I. We both heard the deer, but neither one of us got to see him. But there was does in front of the buck, and the first adult doe that came through, he shot with his muzzleloader again, one shot, and missed the doe, but he did get the chance to see the buck. And at that time, if the buck would have just kept running through there too, he would have went through the drive, because he was in between Landon and I, and neither one of us would have seen him. It was a pretty thick hillside, pretty brushy hillside. And at that point, he just saw this deer turn and run down the hill, and all I heard was crashing and sticks breaking. And shortly after that, I heard one more shot. Again, muzzleloader, just one shot. And that's the fun part about muzzleloader too. You never know if you got deer or not. Shotgun, you usually hear one shot, you got a good idea the deer's dead. Muzzleloader, you get one shot, and it's the anticipation afterwards of going down, did you get one? Because you have no idea.
The pieces were all kind of falling together for you, Stan.
You should add into what Ryan told you to wait.
Yeah, my son, Ryan, actually, when we got out to pick up to start today, he said, Dad, he said, don't shoot right away when you see a doe. He said, watch what's behind her. I'll never forget that. But then after I heard Brad shoot, and I also heard the deer out in front, or probably about 100 yards through a flat there, I could tell there was quite a few deer. And they were I think they were a little confused as to where to go. And I seen them go back up the flat towards the ravine again, and I just caught a quick glimpse of some horns in there, and I thought, it's not the big boy, but yeah, it's one worth shooting, decent. And I lost sight of him for probably a couple minutes, and then all of a sudden, probably about 60 yards away from me up the ravine, I seen a couple deer start moving through the ravine. Really hard to see them, it was really thick. I picked out a spot in there where I could see the best, and I just waited and put the gun in there, and I waited until I seen a set of horns go through, and I pulled the trigger, and I quick set my gun down because you're not going to get a second chance. So I set the gun down and watched the ravine on the other side, because that was pretty clear, and never seen the buck come out. So I loaded my gun, put a primer in it, walked up, seen the spot. I could see where he kicked up dirt, but there was no blood, no deer. And I thought, man, it had to be a buck. But I see no horns go out the other side. And there was like 10 to 12 deer, I would say, busted out the other side. About that time, then the walkers come down the other side of the ravine, and one of them said, well, we got blood over here. And I told him, I said, well, let's just let him lay. In the meantime, Brian and Brad had come, and Brad and I started, or the other guy started talking about what we had seen, and we slipped his name out. We had talked about the buck we seen, and we both thought, you know, it's a nice 10-pointer. And well, then in the meantime, Leighton, he had taken off trailing this buck, and Sheldon and my son Ryan, they decided that, you know, they're going to go down to the road to make sure you don't get across the road. And they kind of all met in the bottom of the dry run there, and kind of all stumbled across them about the same time. And Leighton was screaming like a little girl. And they hollered up to me, and I said, yeah, right. I didn't believe them. I really didn't. And
Thought they were pulling your leg.
yeah, I thought they were pulling my leg, and I didn't even, you know. And then they started hollering more and more. So then I started hurrying and getting down. It was just total disbelief.
Yeah.
And I think Leighton probably hit me about. We high-fived it about 20 yards away from his deer. I didn't even get up to it. So it was pretty special, and you know, every one of them guys was part of it, and we had a 2-hour photo session before we ever moved a deer.
I can imagine. What was it like when you first?
One other interesting part on the where Stan was sitting on the drive. We did this drive during the first gun season. We only did it with 5 people, I believe, 5 or 6 people that time. We had a lot less people, but we just did it during the middle of the week when most of the group was working. And we did the drive, and we kind of set it off, and Landon and Leighton scouted this area more than any of us, and they knew the area, and Stan and I were fortunate enough to sit both times, and there at the end of that drive, we got done, and I had seen one doe come through, and we might have seen some other deer, don't remember, but Landon was one of the walkers on that drive, and he walked down to Stan, and Stan goes, so was this where I was supposed to be sitting? And Landon said, well, I probably would have been better up the ravine about 100 yards. And when we went back with more people, Stan told one of the other guys with us, you sit here, this is where I sat, and he went up, followed Landon's advice, and went up 100 yards, and from where Stan sat the first time, we wouldn't have seen this deer.
Right.
All came together perfectly.
Yeah.
That's pretty incredible. I mean, I guess sometimes us young guys can be good pieces of advice. I've learned a lot from gentlemen that are much older than myself, and every once in a while we pull through.
I listen to these guys pretty well. They all spend a lot more time in the woods than I do.
Well, it's good that they were able to put you in the right spot at the right time.
And we were so fortunate, you know. We talked about afterwards, you know, what if we'd have hit this deer 2-3 times, you know.
Then
yeah, it could be hard feelings. Everything, you know, we're all a part of it. Mm-hmm. You know, like I told one sports writer today, I said, you know, when my name appears in the book, I said I'll see it different than anybody else because I'll see 12 other names in parentheses behind mine.
Sure. That's a very unique experience, and I think that's something that gets lost a lot of times in the era that we live in. Big bucks are on TV all the time, and I think something that's very special about a deer, especially something of the caliber as this one, is the whole experience behind it and being able to share that with some people that are, you know, very close to you. That's makes it an entirely different experience than just shooting a deer. That's something that's great to be able to share with everybody. I know that you're not going to say the official green score, much as I'm going to be waiting for it, you know, 60 days or however long from now, but you figure it'll be in that 235, 240?
It'll definitely be, you know, in that area.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the official score assured us of that it will be the state record.
And the number of people that came to see it right away was unbelievable. I've never been part of something like that. Never been down at the Mauer's Tavern and Pooter's Barn, Altura. I've never been at those places when a deer like this has come in. I've been there when deer have emptied out the bar before, but the number of people that came by and stopped, and we stood at the bar for hours, and there was never a time where there was never a time where there was less than 20 people
And there
around
was,
the vehicle.
and when we was laying on the pickup, the horn stuck up over the side of the box, and there'd be cars driving down Main Street, and all of a sudden they'd slam on their brakes and back up, and
I'm
it was
surprised.
funny.
Yeah, I mean that's the kind of buck that will definitely stop traffic. And I think if I saw that sticking out of the bed of a truck on my way by, I would be stopping for sure. Definitely to shake some hands and hear the story, because that's something you don't see every day. Pretty neat.
Yeah, and I've seen posted on Facebook and stuff, he had 30 points. There's 28 measurable points, we'll give them that.
28. That's the number. Huh? I didn't even.
There's one close.
There's one close, but they
We'll see.
counted 28 of them.
28 that
Okay.
he's pretty sure are gonna count, and then possibly
one.
Possibly 29, 28 for sure.
But he's not the 30 point.
Not the 30-point buck. You know, that's funny that you bring that up, because I don't know about yourselves, but part of my tradition for opening weekend of gun season with my dad is we listen to
The
the
30 point.
infamous 30-point buck song. And yeah, that's as close as I've ever seen in real life to it. It looks, that's pretty close to the cover of the CD, if I remember it correctly. That's a great story, and it's been an awesome experience coming out here, meeting some of you for the first time, and getting to hear the story behind this amazing deer. And I can't wait to see the full body mount when it's done, and I can't wait to hear the full score. 60 days from now, I'm gonna be watching my calendar, so you're gonna have to let us know when that does come out. But congratulations again on an amazing deer.
Thank you.
Congratulations to the group. It seems like you guys have a great sense of camaraderie and a great group of guys to hunt with. So it's pretty awesome that you're all able to share in this deer.
And I just want to thank these guys and the rest of the party, because they all made it happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Amazing deer. Thank you, gentlemen. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas. Heck of a Christmas present.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.